Haunted Michigan. Terrifying tales.
In this installment of Haunted Michigan, we head up to mid-Michigan, to Dice Road. That's where Michigan's Hell House is located. If you haven't heard about this thing yet, wait until you hear about it from Steve Shippy. Travel Channel is going to show a 2-hour special on Michigan's Hell House this coming Sunday night at 9 o'clock. But enough me talking about it. Here's Steve Shippy to tell you all about it on this episode of Haunted Michigan. Steve, thanks so much for joining me. How are you, man?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. The guys from Twisted say hello.
Oh, yeah, man. I love those guys.
Yeah, so before we get into Hell House, you did some touring with those guys?
Oh, yeah. Many times I've toured with those guys on and off for about 10, 15 years, I would say.
Yeah. Where does your music career stand right now?
Kind of right now it's on hold. You know, I'm kind of putting my focus on to doing this a little bit more so. I mean, you know, for the longest time I was doing both, and then sometimes one would kind of take precedence over the other, and then it kind of recycles. Definitely not done with it. You know, never say never. I definitely have to continue forward with that at some point.
Now, how long have you been doing the paranormal thing?
Well, as far as filming it, you know, professionally in that sense, for about 17 years, but prior to that for about 25.
Okay. Now, I've watched. I haven't seen the show that's going to air this coming weekend on Travel Channel, but I have seen other episodes that you've done on this particular house. And even the guys from Detroit Paranormal Expeditions told me this house is like really out there, isn't it?
It really is. This whole case is unlike any other case I've ever heard of. I mean, it's amazing to me that it, you know, just happens to be in my backyard, but I often refer to this case as the greatest paranormal story in history that you've never heard of. It's the most prolific haunting I've ever come across in any of the research I've done. And you know, that's a bold statement to make, so I don't say that lightly, but there's several factors, I guess, and we could kind of go into on why that is.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, where does this rank as far as your paranormal investigations? But you're saying it's right there at the top, huh?
Definitely, hands down.
Yeah. I've watched some of the other shows that you've done. I watched them over the weekend. And it's the footage that you guys get is unbelievable.
Well, you know, I think one of the main things that attribute to that is, you know, we spend, you know, weeks, sometimes even months investigating a place, you know, so it's compiling all of that information and all of that footage, you know, for several months, fine-tuned into a 70 or 80-minute presentation. Yeah.
Now, what makes this house right up there for somebody that's never watched anything about the Hell House? First of all, tell us exactly where it is.
Sure. It's in the small town village, as it's referred to, of Merrill, Michigan, which is kind of right in the center of the state.
Yeah. Is it in the thumb or it's in the center?
It's in the center. It's about 15 or maybe 20 miles from Saginaw. So I'll do the classic Michigan thing here and say it's right about there.
Okay. All right. So is it by Midland?
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay. All right. So tell for people that haven't watched any of what this Hell House is all about, what makes this house so unique and so energized?
Well, what makes it unique is, I mean, first of all, there's so many bizarre facets to it. You know, when this case first began, it was in 1974. The family had built the house in 1951, lived there all that time. Nothing ever happened. No incidents, nothing tragic ever took place in the home. Nothing at all. Very peaceful farming community and farmers that lived there. This all ends abruptly one night when the family had just kind of gotten to sleep and they hear the smashing sound of glass. They get up and see that their front picture window in the home was smashed out. Right away, they kind of thought, okay, it's got to be some vandals, maybe some teenagers are looking for a rock or something of that nature. They call the police. The police come, they take a report, seeming to be the end of the story. However, the next day, they start experiencing pounding on the side of their house, all around the house. And at some point, it sounded like multiple people doing it in tandem. And the police come out again, they investigate, they look around the property. They don't find any footprints, anything of that nature, but they can see indentation on the aluminum siding. So they make a report. Every single day for a year, the police are called to that home, sometimes as many times as 15 times per night for things that were taking place. And you know, a broken window and pounding and knocking is mild in comparison to how this escalated.
What is, tell us some of the stuff that you yourself have experienced while you've been there.
While I've been in the home, we've experienced cold spots. We've seen shadowy figures. We've seen objects move on their own. We hear a lot of disembodied voices. Sometimes it almost feels like the house kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better word, kind of vibrates. You know, you feel a reverberation in the entire home and the floor. You get a very dreadful sensation when you're there. Some people have experienced really loud ringing in their ears. Um, Kind of a sense of being watched at all times. Some people in the crew were actually feeling nauseous at different times throughout the house. So it kind of really spans a gamut of sensations and visuals.
And is there a family living there now?
There is, yeah. The family that lives there now actually bought it from the original family, 40 some years ago.
Hmm. And when you buy it, do you have to disclose that there may be a demon living in there?
You know, I hear different, information on that. Some people say you have to disclose that there's a haunting. Some people say you don't. This house has only been on the market one time, for a very small amount of time, and this family bought it. So up until now, there's only been two occupants of this house.
Now, does the family just, I guess, just kind of get used to it?
Well, the family that lives there now, they experience a lot of different things, but they're mild, I guess you could say, certainly mild as compared to the previous owners. You know, it's more like they'll see a shadowy figure, they'll see an apparition in the window kind of peering in, they'll see flashes of lights, objects will come up missing in the home, stuff like that. It seemed to be that what was happening then that was so destructive and chaotic was more targeting that original family, and perhaps these are more the after effects of that haunting, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now the specials I saw you do on this, the ones I watched were from like 2015 or 2016 or something. How many times have you investigated this house, or how many times have you been there?
On and off for 3 or 4 kind of full investigations. So I mean, I've been investigating there going on about 8 years,
Hmm.
which is a lot of time.
Yeah. Now, I saw in the promo for the show, which is by the way on Travel Channel this coming Sunday night at 9 p.m. This is 2 hours, correct?
Yeah, it's a 2 hour special. Yep.
Okay, so I saw the promo. It says it alluded to the fact that some of the town folk or some of the police officers or whatever are talking for the first time. Is that right? I know that in past episodes I've seen some of the cops come out that are retired and what have you. But is there
Right.
people talking for the first time about this house?
Yeah, there are some people that are coming forward that we've got a chance to talk to for the first time, and something that's really amazing to me that was kind of the catalyst, I guess, in a sense. Well, not the original catalyst to reopen the case, but one of the main impactful things were, the first time I took that deep dive into the case, we kept hearing from the individuals that came out to study the phenomenon from Duke University that there were recordings, multiple recordings, of the pounding, audio running when the fires took place. Because this team of professors, they would have audio reel to reel at the time placed throughout the house, always running, capturing anything that may happen.
Mm.
And interviews with the family members, interviews with the police officers. And we kept thinking, my God, if we could only track down that audio. But for years and years, we couldn't find it. It was thought to be lost. We don't know. Long story short, we located this treasure trove of audio from the 1970s, and we could actually now listen to everything that was being said, what the family was saying, what the officers were saying, what the neighbors were saying. We could hear the pounding, we could hear the explosions, we could even hear the moments that the fires happened in the house. We could hear the family's reaction upon discovering them, even the police trucks approaching and busting in the house and spraying it down. Luckily, these recorders weren't damaged, so we can hear all of this and kind of really put together some missing pieces of the. I don't want to say too much, but it was a lot of information for us.
Now, I've heard of other houses like this, like for example, like obviously Amityville and whatnot, but like the Sally House and stuff. Have you been to any of these other places?
Yeah, sure have. I've investigated the Sally House. We featured that on an episode of Haunting in the Heartland, which is a series that I have with the Travel Channel.
Okay.
It's on Discovery Plus. But yeah, I've been to the Sally House. You brought up Amityville. It's interesting. One of the professors that came to the Hell House originally in the 70s, he also did some work on the Amityville case as well.
Yeah, I mean these houses. What do you think attracts this spirit or this energy to specific places like this? You have any ideas?
Well, I think it all depends on the individual case. For the Michigan Hell House specifically, it's kind of split as far as the people that have been investigating for years. Law enforcement brought in again, this team from Duke University. They deemed it to be a poltergeist.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the family that lived in the house, and I would say the overwhelming amount of people in the community thought it was the work of dark arts and witchcraft and things of that nature, targeting that family through a grievance of somebody in the area.
Right. There was a neighbor, if I recall, that was a witch.
Yes.
Back in the day, right?
Yeah, she referred to herself. She introduced herself as an ordained witch, is what she said she was.
And is she still around, or what happened to her? Do you know?
I definitely know. We're kind of holding back that right now, but more will come.
Okay, I got you. So this coming Sunday at 9:00. Do people like not so much investigators like yourself, but just normal everyday fans of the paranormal, do they swing by this house?
A lot of people will drive by, the house and kind of snap a picture. We always kind of urge people to obviously not trespass or go there. The family's not interested in people investigating or coming onto their property. So luckily, the vast majority of people have been pretty respectful. But people will certainly drive by, and it's like right at a four-way stop, so they'll kind of snap some pictures and kind of freak out. Sometimes they'll actually see things in the window and send us photos or whatnot. But yeah.
Yeah, I saw some pretty crazy spirit box interaction with you on the promo. And one thing that struck me too when I was watching the previous shows that you've done before is some of the outside footage was pretty amazing too.
It is, yeah. Dice Road is where the home is located. Dice Road itself is just a plethora of activity. I mean, there's so many locations along that Dice Road corridor that people claim to have experiences, and this goes back 60, 70 years. I mean, there's people that will contact me that they are in their 50s, some of them in their 60s, and they talk about experiences that they've had when they were teenagers at multiple different locations. It's very interesting how much folklore and how many sightings still happen in that whole region. But none as impactful as this. Certainly the Hell House. Yeah.
Yeah, I just mentioned the spirit box. You get some pretty good interaction, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. That device in particular is very much like a spirit box. It's called the Geoport.
Okay.
It was invented by a man named George Brown. So we get a lot of great evidence with that device.
Yeah, because everyone can see on the promo that you mentioned something about a demon or something.
Yes. Yeah, we were getting a lot of really nasty things coming from that device. A lot of things we didn't show, but a lot of things referencing that type of energy.
Yeah. Well, it's super interesting. Would you say that in your experiences and your travels that this is like, I don't know, maybe one of the most haunted places in Michigan?
Yeah, I would certainly say that. And it's definitely, to me, the most prolific case. I truly believe in paranormal history. I mean, yeah, sure, there wasn't a brutal murder or murders that took place there. But when you're talking about 1,000 police reports, when you're talking about multiple law enforcement agencies going all the way to the state police and then even high-ranking detectives of the state police, when you're talking about a paranormal case that had stakeouts and polygraphs and, again, it's so much to even say, but I mean, what kind of case have you ever heard of that would involve something like that? Or even the FAA coming out, which, you'll have to kind of know the whole story to hear why that is. The power company, the gas company, lighting companies, seismographs, geologists came out there. Could there be a natural explanation for these explosions? I mean, everything that could possibly be explored to explain this was explored. And in the end, they had to basically, in writing, come out and say, we don't know what's happening. We have no idea what's happening.
I remember on the one show I was watching on this that you had before, the woman was standing, I believe, in a bathroom, and she felt like there was people screaming coming up through the floor.
Yes. Yep.
And you guys were on, there's a crawl space or something, right? Aren't there, Michigan?
Yeah, right underneath the house. Yep.
Yeah. So that was kind of a nutso.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like the Bermuda Triangle of activity. I mean, it's hard to explain what it's like being there, but it takes a toll on everybody in many different ways. It's very extreme.
Well, thanks for the time Sunday at 9 o'clock on the Travel Channel. What else you got coming up this year? Can you talk about anything else? You going to be at any conventions, any expos, anything like that?
Actually, I don't even really do any of those. We do our own events here in Saginaw. We do a big film premiere at the Temple Theater in Saginaw every year, and we've been doing that for about 11 years now. And so the next film I'm putting out independently is A Haunting on Brockway Street 2. People have been waiting quite a while for the follow-up investigation to that. So that'll be coming out. And I also have a new project with the network. I can't really go into that yet, but certainly when I do, I'd love to come back and talk with you about all things spooky.
Yeah, hey, dude, I'm ready, man. I'm ready for it. So, Steve, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Can't wait to watch this show Sunday night at 9 on the Travel Channel. And like I said, it was riveting watching the other episodes. So I could hardly wait to see what this one's all about.
Yeah, for anyone that's seen, what's good is if people haven't seen my previous investigation there, we really go into that as well. So it's not something that they necessarily have to do per se, but it's a really good thing to get the full perspective and then see the continuation and what we've uncovered since then.
I got you. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. So thanks again. Next time we're down in Detroit, look me up, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Once again, a big thank you to Steve Shippy for telling us all about Michigan's Hell House. I can hardly wait to watch this Sunday night at 9 o'clock on Travel Channel. And a big thank you to you for watching Haunted Michigan.